You'll see her move on faster than you ever thought possible. Her photos will change, her tone will shift, her eyes will seem lighter, like you were never there, and that's when something inside you goes quiet. Because a part of you believed the connection was real. You believed that what you built meant more than moments that could be replaced. But now she's gone, and she's already filling the space where your name used to live. And you start to wonder, was any of it real? Did she ever really care, or was she just waiting for the next emotional high, the next man to mirror back the version of herself she wanted to see? She'll replace you fast. That's the part that stings. Because men by nature hold on. We don't let go easily. We sit with it. We replay it. We analyze the small details. The laugh she gave at dinner, the way she touched your arm when she wanted reassurance. We remember it all. Meanwhile, she's already adapting. She's already curating a new chapter that looks like healing, but it's really distraction. Women, especially in today's world, are taught to keep moving. They're told that stillness equals weakness, that reflection equals regression. So she dives into something new, a new man, a new image, a new story. Anything that reminds her she's still desired, still relevant, still wanted. And that's what you'll see first, the speed. The speed of her transformation, the sudden lightness in her tone, the "I'm fine" texts that sound robotic but convincing. She'll post something about growth, about peace, about how sometimes letting go is self-love. But underneath that digital armor, something else brews. Because you can replace the presence but not the imprint. And you left an imprint. You see, when a man loves deeply, not with desperation but with presence, he changes the emotional chemistry of a woman's world. He anchors her, he grounds her, he becomes the mirror that reflects her truest self, not the one she shows the world but the one she hides, even from herself. So yes, she'll replace you fast. But what she won't tell anyone is that for months after, something inside her feels off. The laughter feels different. The silence feels heavier. Because the man she's with might say the right things, might even do the right things, but he doesn't feel like you. He doesn't have your rhythm, your steadiness, your quiet confidence. He doesn't see her in that specific way, the way you did when you looked at her without needing anything in return. It's easy for people to move on in appearance, but emotional energy doesn't just vanish. It lingers, it echoes, especially when the bond was real. She might convince herself she's healed, but healing doesn't look like running. Healing looks like sitting still in the ashes, facing the truth of what was lost. And very few people, men or women, have the strength to do that. So don't mistake her speed for strength. It's not. It's fear wearing lipstick. It's the terror of sitting alone in a silence that used to have your voice in it. And while she's out trying to overwrite your memory, you'll be doing something different. You'll be feeling the loss. You'll be understanding it. You'll be rebuilding from the core, not from distraction. And that's the difference between you and her. She's escaping what you're facing. She's forgetting what you're processing. She'll replace you fast, but the replacement won't feel the same. Because you weren't just another chapter in her story. You were the story she'll keep trying to rewrite but never quite get right again. When a woman moves on quickly, the world applauds her. They call it empowerment, independence, evolution. They tell her she's glowing, that she's healed, that she's finally found her peace. But deep down, she knows it's not peace, it's pause. It's a delay on the grief she refuses to face. And that's the part no one ever talks about. Men don't get applause for moving on fast. We're expected to endure the pain quietly, to hold our ground, to bleed in silence. But in that silence, something powerful happens. A man begins to see things clearly, not through emotion, but through truth. He realizes that her speed wasn't a sign of strength, it was a sign of fear. Fear of emptiness, fear of confronting herself without someone to mirror her worth. Because that's what women forget. When a man like you loves, he doesn't just give attention, he gives direction. He gives her a sense of grounding in a world that constantly pulls her into chaos. He becomes the silent structure she leans on when her emotions start to spiral. And once you're gone, she doesn't just lose love, she loses that emotional compass, the stability that kept her centered. So she rushes to fill the void, like someone trying to patch a wound with perfume. The scent may cover it for a while, but underneath it's still bleeding. And that's what her moving on really is, perfume over pain. She'll talk to someone new, she'll feel a spark again, but it won't be you, because you weren't just a spark, you were warmth. You were that steady, unshakable heat that made her feel safe enough to be soft, and safety can't be replicated by novelty. The truth is, she'll feel something missing with every man after you. Maybe not right away, maybe months later, maybe years, but one night when she's laughing with someone new, she'll stop for a second, and she won't even know why. but it'll hit her, that quiet space in the room where she used to feel your energy, that safety she never found again, that peace that only came when she looked into your eyes and felt seen, not admired. That's the curse of a man who loved deeply. You leave fingerprints that don't fade, even when she pretends they're gone. You shape the way she measures every man who follows. They'll all be compared to you, not consciously but emotionally. In her heart, every new connection will have to survive the shadow of your memory. And here's the part most men never realize. She doesn't replace you. She replaces the version of herself she was with you, because being with you required her to rise. You brought out a certain softness, a certain honesty, that she can't replicate with anyone who doesn't demand depth. So she runs toward what's easier, lighter, shallower, more exciting. But in that shallow water, she'll find no reflection, because she knows, even if she won't admit it, that the man she lost wasn't ordinary. He was rare, not perfect but present, not flawless but faithful, and that's something the world is running out of. So yes, she'll replace you fast, but she'll never replace what it felt like to be understood by you. To be held by someone who didn't want to control her, but simply protect her peace. To be seen by someone who wasn't trying to fix her, but just loved her through her storms. That's what she'll never find again, because men like you don't come around twice. You weren't a moment, you were a mirror, and when she broke it, she lost the reflection that once made her feel beautiful without needing the world's validation. And maybe she'll never admit it out loud, but every time she lies awake next to someone new, a part of her will remember you. Not your face, not your voice, but the feeling of being safe in a love that didn't need performance. That's the part she'll crave, and the part she'll never find again. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Daniel. He wasn't perfect, no man ever is, but he was steady. He loved his woman in a quiet way, not with grand gestures or constant words, but with consistency. He showed up every time. He listened when she spoke, even when her words came out like storms. He gave her calm, even when she gave him chaos. And that's what made her feel safe, that quiet, masculine steadiness that doesn't demand attention but commands it by presence alone. But one day she left. Not because he failed her, but because she mistook peace for boredom. She started to crave the high again, the thrill, the spark, the validation that came from being wanted by new eyes. She thought she'd outgrown him, so she left, convinced that something more exciting was waiting just beyond the edge of her comfort. A week later, she was already with someone new, smiling in photos, laughing louder. Her friends told her she looked free. And Daniel, he didn't say a word. He just went quiet. He didn't chase, didn't beg, didn't fight to reclaim what no longer wanted to be held, because he understood something she didn't yet know, that people who rush to replace you are really running from themselves. For months she seemed fine. She traveled, she posted, she smiled. But one night, alone in her apartment, the silence came back. That kind of silence that doesn't just fill the room, it fills your chest. And that's when the memories started creeping in. The way he used to look at her when she was rambling about her dreams, the way he listened without trying to fix, the way his hand on her lower back made her feel like nothing in the world could touch her. Her new man was fun, spontaneous, unpredictable, all the things she thought she wanted, but he didn't see her. He saw the version of her she showed him, the fun one, the wild one, the version she had to keep performing just to feel valued again. And that performance exhausted her, because deep down she missed the quiet. She missed the stillness that came with being with a man who didn't need her to perform at all. That's the thing about men like Daniel. When you love a woman from a place of truth, she'll never forget it. You don't leave scratches, you leave roots. And roots don't die easy. They stay buried, hidden beneath every new connection she tries to build. They grow quietly, even when she pretends the soil is empty. There was another man, Michael. His ex replaced him within days. She started dating someone she'd met at work, someone who seemed like the opposite of him, loud, confident, impulsive. At first it looked like she'd found her match, but months later she called him, not to get back together, but because she wanted to apologize. She said she didn't know why she was calling, she just missed the way he made her feel. And that's the key word, isn't it? Feel. Because feelings don't lie, even when people do. You can fake happiness, you can post about growth, but the body knows. The nervous system remembers who felt safe, who you could fall apart around without being judged, who made you breathe deeper without even saying a word. That's why women move on fast, to numb that memory before it becomes unbearable. Because once it hits, once that emotional gravity kicks in, they realize what they lost. Not just a boyfriend, not just a partner, but the energy of a man who loved them without needing to be anything other than himself. And that's what today's world doesn't understand. You can replace company, but not connection. You can replace conversation, but not presence. You can replace the image of love, but not its feeling. So she'll keep searching. She'll meet new men, maybe good ones, maybe even great ones, but they'll always feel a little too light, a little too shallow. Because after you've known depth, real depth, Everything else feels like noise, and one day she'll realize that the man she left behind wasn't the past, he was the standard. And every time she tries to move on, she'll just be chasing the ghost of a man who didn't try to impress her, he just understood her. And that's why she'll never find another man like you. Because what she's really looking for is the reflection of who she was when she was loved by you. There's a strange silence that follows after she replaces you. At first, it's loud, full of pictures, new stories, new laughter that seems to echo just to remind you that you've been erased. But then, that noise fades, and what's left behind is the silence of memory. It's not something she talks about, it creeps in during the quiet moments. When she's driving home at night, when she's half asleep and the world finally stops spinning, that's when the truth shows up. Not as words, but as a feeling. A sudden ache, a flash of familiarity she can't quite place. And she realizes it feels like you. Because what most people don't understand is this: emotional bonds don't break cleanly. They leave residue. And when you've been a man who gave from depth, who was steady in a world addicted to chaos, you leave more than memories, you leave an emotional blueprint. And every man that comes after you will be measured by it, even if she doesn't mean to. She'll compare the way he listens, he doesn't, the way he holds her, too tight, too fast, no patience, the way he reacts when she's quiet, he gets defensive instead of curious, and she won't say anything, but inside she'll feel it, the difference, the absence of that grounding energy that made her feel safe. That's when regret begins, but it doesn't scream, it whispers. It starts as confusion, then becomes nostalgia, and eventually turns into a haunting, because the heart always remembers where it felt at peace. You see, she may have moved on, but she hasn't healed. She just rearranged her pain into prettier patterns. She painted over the cracks, but the walls still shake when memories hit. And that's what women rarely admit, that after the high of moving on, there comes the low of realizing not all love can be replicated. You were slow, steady, present. You didn't flood her world with drama, you gave it rhythm, you didn't chase attention, you commanded it by being calm in a way the world no longer is. And that calm becomes addictive, even if she didn't notice it then. That's why months later, when she's sitting across from someone new and he's talking too loud or interrupting or making everything about himself, she'll zone out, and her mind will drift back to you. The way your silence felt like comfort, not distance. The way you said her name, not like it was a question, but like it was a certainty. The way your eyes didn't look at her, but into her. She'll remember that. She'll feel it like a ghost, soft, invisible, but undeniable. And it'll hit her. She replaced the man who gave her peace with men who give her attention. And attention fades fast. Peace doesn't. There's a certain masculine energy that's becoming rare. Men who don't need validation. Men who can sit in silence without trying to prove something. Men who protect without possession, love without fear, and walk away when they're no longer respected. That's what she lost. Not just you, but what you represent. A kind of man that can't be replaced because he's not performing, he's being. And here's the truth, when a man like you leaves, a woman doesn't just lose the relationship, she loses her reflection in your eyes, because you saw her differently. You didn't see her through her social mask, through her curated charm. You saw the version of her that was raw, vulnerable, honest. And once she's been seen like that, she can't go back to pretending. Every new man will see the surface, but she'll miss the one who saw the soul. So while she may laugh louder now, deep down, she'll feel emptier, because she traded depth for distraction, and that's the kind of trade you always regret in silence. The world will keep telling her she made the right choice, that she deserves better. But when she's alone and her phone's face down, when the lights go out and the noise fades, the truth arrives. You can't replace connection with convenience. You can't replace a man who loved you with patience by one who only loves you for pleasure. And you can't rebuild something real on the ashes of something you never understood. That's when she'll think of you. Not as a fantasy, not as a mistake, but as a home she burned down before she learned how to live in it. And she'll realize the tragedy too late, that she didn't just lose a man, she lost a presence that made her believe love could still be sacred. And once a woman sees what sacred love looks like, she can never unsee it. She'll spend years trying to recreate that same feeling, in different faces, different arms, different places, but she won't find it. Because it wasn't about you being perfect, it was about you being real. And real doesn't come around often. It's rare, it's quiet, it's unshakable. And once it's gone for good. At some point the noise stops. The photos fade, the memories blur, and the story she told herself that she moved on begins to unravel quietly in the background of her life. It happens slowly, like a faint echo returning years after the song ended. One night she'll be lying next to someone new. The lights will be off and she'll feel a strange emptiness, not loneliness exactly, but something deeper. Like standing in a room where the furniture has changed, but the scent of the past still lingers in the air. She'll realize then that she doesn't miss you as a person. She misses how she felt when she was with you. And that's when it hits hardest, because feelings can't be replaced. Men like you are not loud. You don't need to make a scene to be remembered. You linger in the quiet places, in her thoughts when she's restless, in her body when she feels uneasy, in the way she hesitates before trusting someone new. You become a memory that humbles her ego and softens her heart, and that's what makes you unforgettable. The truth is, she'll never find a man like you again, not because you're some flawless fantasy, but because you were real in a world addicted to illusions. You didn't love her for what she could give you. You loved her for who she was when the world stopped performing. You saw the truth of her, not the filtered version, not the charming one, but the broken one, and that kind of love leaves a mark. Time will move on, of course. She'll grow, evolve, learn new languages of love, but no one will speak to her soul in your dialect, because every man who comes after you will feel like a translation, familiar words, missing depth. She'll nod, smile, laugh, but deep down she'll feel the difference between being adored and being understood. That's what you gave her, understanding. And once a woman has felt that, she becomes restless in its absence. She can try to recreate it, but it will always feel forced, because you can't recreate what was real by pretending it didn't exist. And here's where most men get it wrong. They think being replaced means being forgotten, but replacement is never the same as removal. You're still there, somewhere inside her, a quiet reference point of what love once felt like before the world convinced her to rush past it. You became her contrast, the silent comparison that every new man will unknowingly be measured against. And that's not revenge, that's just truth, because real love doesn't fade, it transforms. It becomes memory, it becomes wisdom, it becomes the reason she pauses before repeating the same mistake again. You become the voice in the back of her mind that says, "This doesn't feel right." You become the reminder that peace once had a name. So when you think about her, don't do it with bitterness, do it with understanding, because she's not your enemy, she's your teacher. She taught you how deep you can love, and in return you taught her what real love actually feels like. And for both of you, that's permanent. You don't need to be remembered by her. You've already shaped her. She'll walk differently now. She'll love differently. And maybe one day when she's older, when the noise of life finally fades, she'll think of you, not with pain, not with guilt, but with quiet gratitude. Because for a moment in time she knew what it meant to be seen fully, and even if she lost it, she'll know it existed. And for you, you'll move on too, but differently. You won't rush, because you understand that what's meant for you won't need replacing. You'll love again, not because you forgot her, but because you remembered yourself. And that's the power of being the man she could never replace. You didn't just love her, you awakened her. And even if she finds someone else, she'll never find herself again the way she did when she was loved by you. That's the quiet truth no one says out loud. She'll replace you fast, yes, but she'll never forget how it felt to be known by you. And that feeling, that stillness, that safety, that soul-level calm will haunt her long after your name fades from her lips, because real men are not replaced, they're remembered forever.